Okay. So due to the disturbances, I could not able to continue in the last session. So now we will just see that what is happening here. Here we are creating two objects. One copy of object is having the value 111 and current, and the another is keeping the copy of object 1. Okay, so this object as it is fed here into S2, and whenever we are displaying, it is displaying the same result as S1. Okay, so this is nothing but the copy constructor in Java. Okay, so now we will see the another way, copying values without constructor. We can copy the values of one object into another by assigning the object values to another object. In this case, there is no need to create the constructor. Okay, so we will directly see how it is happening. So here in this case, we are creating one object and the another object. S2 is also object and S1 is also object. Okay, so S1 is a parameterized constructor where we are putting the values as 111 and current, so which are coming in ID and name. Okay, so these are the two variables which are kept with the values as 111 and current. Okay, so after that, here we are directly copying s2.id is equal to s1.id. This is nothing, this equal to is nothing but the assigning. So it means that whatever the values with the ID of object S1 is having, just like the 111, so that is copied to the ID section of S2. Similar for name, whatever the values with S1 dot name, the name field of S1 is having, that is copied to S2 dot. Okay, so it is just coming here. So S1 dot display, as we know that as obvious 111 and current it is just showing, and S2 dot display, if you are displaying, it is also automatically displaying the values of ID as 111 and name as current, because we have copied it here. So this is another way of copy constructor. The firstly, providing with whenever we are creating the constructor, at that time passing the argument as an object. Okay, passing the argument of object. So that is nothing but the first case. And in this case, we are directly assigning the values, directly assigning the variable values into another value. Okay, so it means that s2.id is another variable and s1.id is another. This ID relates to S1, this ID is relating to S2. So these two are the different objects. Okay, so we will see basically the does constructor returns any value. So basically the answer is no, but it is the current class instance. We cannot use return type. Yes, it is not, we can return the values, we can assign the values, but we cannot actually return the data types. Okay, so therefore the constructor cannot able to return any values by return types. It is the current class instance. You cannot use return type yet. It returns a value. Can constructor perform other tasks instead of initializations? Yes, like object creation. So basically it is like that whenever we are calling the constructor, automatically the object is getting created. If you want to start the thread, that also we have seen that thread T is equal to new thread. It means that whenever we are writing that statement, automatically the thread is getting created. So it means that we can able to create the object, we can able to create the thread. Then calling a method, you can perform any operations in the constructor as you perform in the method. So all the operations of the methods are possible here. Okay, but only the thing is that whatever we should not assign, if you are assigning some values in the constructor, that will be initialized every time. Okay, is there constructor class in Java? Yes, constructor class, it is obvious that. What is the purpose of constructor class? The Java provide a constructor class which can be used to get the internal information of a constructor in class. It is found in java.lang.reflect package. Okay, so this is just to consider. So what is the output of this? If you are considering this, just it is showing. Okay, so constructor class by default it is provided with. So here this is a normal program, baki it's nothing but we are just creating. This is the student file is nothing but the name of the constructor. Okay, so this is the name of the constructor. It is just calling Whatever the value I is having, that is copied to ID. Whatever the value N is having, that is copied to name. Whatever the value A is having, that is copied to age. Okay, and those are just printed here. And if you are checking the output is nothing but 111 current, and by default initialization is 0 here. Okay, and by default initializations for 222 is 25, because which is directly given here. Okay, so we will just now we will see what is the difference between the constructor and the methods in Java. A constructor is used to initialize the state of an object, so that we have already seen that. A method is used to expose the behavior of object. Okay, so what exactly the implementation is in object is coming under the category of Java method, and constructor is used for initialization purpose. Constructor must not have return type, but the method have the return type. The method is invoked explicitly and constructor is invoked implicitly. It means that whenever we are creating just the objects, automatically the constructor is getting called, but to call the method, we need to call that method first. Okay, to execute the method, we need to call that method. The Java compiler provide a default constructor if you don't have any constructor in class. This is by default. The method is not provided by compiler, because method is provided by the user itself. The method name may or may not be the same as that of class name, but the constructor name should be same as that of class name. So this is nothing but some of the differences between the Java constructor and Java methods. Okay, so I think this much is sufficient as far as the today's session is concerned. So what's the basic difference between the constructor and the method? It may have the same name. The Java constructor should have the same name as that of the class. It should not have any return type. But if you are considering the method can have return type. Method is called explicitly. Okay, if it is required, we have to give a call, and then only that particular method is getting called. But the constructor is called implicitly if it is provided. By default, if the constructor is not provided, by default, if the constructor is not provided, so constructor will get called. Constructor is not provided. System provides a constructor for us. Okay, so I think this much is sufficient. In the next session, we will see the rest of the part.